boy and blood and all that. So he's vacillating. Meanwhile, God is getting mad. The angel of death is coming, drawing the sword, is going to kill him and the boy. Zipporah sees that, grabs the knife from Moses, takes boy's pants down, and they takes evidence of what she's done and throws it right between the angel of death and Moses and stops the knife of killing Moses. The evidence was thrown of what she did. Blood evidence. He's a blood husband. You nearly killed my boy and left me a widow. Because he's just messing around. He can mess around with the things of God. Listen, he says, he's come to circumcise a circumcision not made with hands, a spiritual circumcision, and it's performed by who? Of course not you. It's performed by Christ. By stripping off the body of the flesh. What is this flesh? Obviously not your body, because we just said there's nothing physical. So we get a whole mix-up about the word flesh here. Something flesh is one thing and another thing. Because the King James says flesh about everything. Well, it says, I've been educated, according to the flesh, I'm a Benjaminite. According to the flesh, I am, professor of law. Kind of like saying, according to the flesh, I'm a doctor. Well, you mean education, right? Yeah, that's what I meant. Well, we'll say education, don't call it flesh, because we get confused about this. So I'm looking for a translation that's going to really clearly translate every place where the King James says flesh, and is exactly what is actually me. Sometimes it's education, sometimes it's my upbringing, sometimes it's my social, who I do belong to. It's a tribal thing, it's a kin, I'm part of this family, part of that family. There's many times the Bible uses flesh as the physical body, and the few instances the Paul's particularly is using it is the sinful nature. But don't get confusion about sinful nature, the demonic nature, and let's say your education, because totally different things. Now, in this instance here, the Amplified translated is exactly as it is. It says, so on the cross, Christ strips off the body of the flesh, the entire corrupt carnal nature with its passions and lust. NIV says the same thing. And if you New International Version, same thing. Let's just read it. Let's get the NIV because it's a cool modern Bible and it's well established. Colossians. Anybody has got an NIV? Good. American Standard. I mean, there are a lot of cool Bibles out there who are taking the time to translate things the way the way it's in the context, because otherwise you get confused. In him, NIV, in him you're also circumcised in putting off of your sinful nature. It doesn't even say flesh, of course, because it is dealing with the sinful, demonic, corrupt nature which we inherited from Adam. Sinful nature not with the circumcision done by hands of man, but the circumcision done by Christ. So what happened on that cross, brothers and sisters, is an amazing thing. And if you ask Winnie, that's all she's thinking. She doesn't think about nothing else. Nothing else preoccupies her mind except what happened to Jesus on the cross. And of course, the Bible gives her permission to be conscious of nothing other than Christ and Him crucified. So she's got the go ahead from God. Go ahead, be conscious of nothing, honey, but Christ and Him crucified. And try to figure everything from that perspective. Everything about you from that perspective. Everybody your life and what everybody else says about you. Try to look at it from that perspective and see how accurate they are. Well, I guarantee you find a lot more accurate from God than from anybody else about you. So let's talk about you. In Him, you also were circumcised. So do you consider yourself spiritually circumcised? Because if you don't, you're missing out on what God paid for in blood. He did it. You could never do it. That's why He did it. Sure, you can circumcise your body, or people nowadays they do all kinds of things to their bodies. But that's just art. You can't cut that devil off of you with no knife. No, nothing can cut the devil off of you. Nothing can cut that rotten, sinful nature you're born with. Nothing except Christ. He's bigger than that. He's the only one who can handle it. And he did exactly that. And he didn't just do it for you, but according to the Bible, he did it to you. Because it was your circumcision, but it wasn't done by you. And maybe that's why you don't get it. We don't get it, because we process everything through our Greek mindset. If I did it, I have it. If I fought with it, I have something to do. If I took it, I got it. Well, no, it doesn't work that way, because salvation is not something you did. Yesterday we went over that. Salvation has nothing to do with your activity. It has to do with what he did. Not every translation translated that way, but several do. And I really enjoyed the translations in their respect. And it says here in Romans 7, it says, so the point is this. Verse 4. The point is this. This is the New Living Translation. New Living. Versus the Living Bible was not really bona fide translation. Why? It was a paraphrase, right? That's what it was, a paraphrase translation. Loosely speaking, not a translation, but interesting, delightful reading, kind of like the Message Bible, not a translation. It's a paraphrase. It's a beautiful thing. But this New Living qualifies as translation. Is sticking to the original as close as it needs to be in order to qualify a bona fide translation. Okay, so what it says, so the point is this. What's the point? The law no longer holds you in its power. Why? Because you died to its power. I did? When? When you died with Christ on the cross. Right there. Something happened to you. He didn't just die for you. According to this, you died with him too. Now, if you don't understand how in the world can something happen to you before you were you, I suggest you read something like by John Paul Jackson, some of the other guys that talk about time. Because you have to understand that while God is not in time, time is in him, and you have to figure it out. How that works, And I'm not claiming to be that. Even Pastor Charles knows more about that than me, because I don't elaborate on that. But it just takes scientific mindset a little bit to understand time. It's like the fourth dimension, But trust me, time is like from here to here, and while it's in God, it's just somewhere from here to here. He's way outside time. The whole thing was done to you way before you were even, way before your mother was around. Everything was already accomplished. There's no yesterday, today, it's all, So when he says he did this to you, you just have to trust the Lord, and not rely on your understanding, because your understanding cannot explain to you. How can something happen to you before you were you? Your natural mind goes, not true. No way, Jose. And says, this is meaningless. How could that have happened to me? I don't remember that. If I don't remember it, how can it possibly be happening? Should we take a break? No longer holds the power, because you died. Say, I died.
I died.
So the law cannot hold nothing to you. Why? Because you have nothing to do with it. You died to it. You have no connection. Die to something means you're dead to it. You don't exist to it. The law does not exist to you. It cannot curse you anymore. It cannot punish you anymore. It cannot judge and evaluate you in its own system. It's done. It's over with. And So when did we die?